Hey everyone, so this is week 16, your digital interactive science notebook, slide 36. I've printed out that slide, and here are the directions for your food web application. Say to use the table below to create a food web, which is a diagram that shows the feeding relationships of all the organisms in the ecosystem through many food chains. So we are going to create a food web here. Here it says, remember, the arrows in a food web point from the organism being eaten to the organism that eats it. So, for example, right, I could have maybe plankton. Plankton are eaten by sponges, and sponges are eaten by angelfish, etc. Right? So the organism being eaten to the organism that eats it. Remember, this is an example of a food chain example. Okay. It says in the diagram on the right, create a food web by drawing arrows to show which organisms are eaten by others. Use the arrows given to you in the toolbox, or click on Insert, Line, and then Arrow. So you can either use the arrows here on your slide, or you can go to the top of the slide on Google Slides, find Insert, click on Line, and then click on Arrow, and then you can draw an arrow. Option, you may choose to draw the diagram and add the photo to this slide or assignment. So if you want, you can get a piece of paper, write this out, and draw it out in the same way that we're doing here. Up to you. Okay, so I'm gonna switch pens here. I would start right here in the right-hand column. Remember this from your week 14 gizmo. This is from your week 14 gizmo on coral reefs. And here we learned that staghorn corals, they consume energy through photosynthesis, or energy from the sun, carbon dioxide, and water. So here I have the staghorn coral, but we don't really have a sun in this diagram. So what I'm gonna do is create that space for me. I'll go back to black actually. So this is the sun. Right, and here's the sun. Here I could say plus carbon dioxide plus water, right? And this entire thing, remember that this entire thing is called photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis. And so I can draw an arrow from photosynthesis to the staghorn coral. And so that takes care of this. I can draw an arrow from photosynthesis to the star coral. Photosynthesis to star coral. Okay. Next we have plankton. Plankton, they are eaten by sponges. So I've got to find plankton. I don't have plankton here. If you want, you can draw plankton, or you can write plankton, but we can do that. We can say plankton, and then we can say plankton. The energy from the plankton goes to sponges. Okay. Photosynthesis also is responsible for providing energy for algae. So I can say, well, here's algae. They get energy from photosynthesis. The stoplight parrotfish, they eat algae and sometimes coral. So the light parrotfish, they eat algae. And then sometimes coral, it says. So we can draw arrows from the coral, the two types of coral we have in this diagram, to the stoplight parrotfish. Okay. Next, we have sponges. Sponges are consumed or eaten by queen angelfish. So you draw an arrow from sponges to queen angelfish. And that takes care of that. Then we have the yellowtail snapper up here. The yellowtail snapper eats shrimp, crabs, worms, and young fish. So it eats, based on what we have in this diagram, it can eat the younger fish of the queen angelfish and the stoplight parrotfish. If you want, you can add more organisms to this diagram, but you don't need to. In the same way that we did plankton and photosynthesis. Okay, and let's see. The Nassau grouper, this guy, eats fish, crabs, and lobsters. So the Nassau grouper eats all of the other fish, The yellowtail snapper is also a fish, so here. Crabs and lobsters. So that same thing, if you'd like to add crabs and lobsters, that's fine. If you want to leave it the way it is, that's fine too. Okay, so the Nassau grouper, we're done. Then we have the long-spined sea urchin. The long-spined sea urchin eats algae. So we need to draw an arrow from algae to the long-spined sea urchin. And then we finally have the hawksbill sea turtle, which eats sponges. So I need to draw an arrow from sponges to the hawksbill sea turtle. And that about completes our diagram. So again, you can draw this out on your own. You can use the arrows in the toolbox on slide 36 and copy and paste and create more arrows so that they look like this. The help center is where I will put this video if you need help. So yeah,